My colleagues and I were asked to share some of our thoughts with some people perhaps in the diaspora who would prefer to hear this message in English. So the main question is, how did we get here? The Armenian society finds itself now still in a state of profound apathy and shock. It had been 2 years since this war happened in our region. A lot of people are still very traumatized, so the question is, how did we get here? And I'd like to share some of my thoughts with you. I think, 30 years of independence, that we would call it independence, were a time that we largely wasted. This was a time that was supposed to be used for state building, building political institutions, political parties, effective government, building the economy, the education system, creating technological capabilities in our country. But sadly, we have wasted that time, and we find ourselves in this situation. It is clear that, to me, that one of the main reasons for that was that we behaved as an ethnic group rather than a state. Our ideology, the dominant ideology of our society, was ethnic ideology. We have a number of bad habits. We like to look to our past constantly. We allow ourselves to be defined by our past, things that have been, rather than what they will be in the future. There was a lack of any clear vision, any clear program for progressive development of Armenia. We spend most of this time defining ourselves in opposition to the world. We're afraid to be part of the world. We like to always stress our exclusivity. We are different in these many respects. We like to keep to ourselves. I think what is needed is a clear platform, a clear program of progressive development. Now, where is this platform going to come from? Can we expect that it will happen from the current political structure that we have here, political entities? I don't believe so. Number one, we have a huge problem with our educational system. There's lack of literature, lack of expertise. We are a little bit cut off from the world. As I mentioned, we like to isolate ourselves rather than face the world. We like to hide away from the world, which is not a good way to build a society or to build scientific expertise. So it's number one problem. Something needs to be done with the educational system. We need to revise our textbooks. We need to literally revise our textbooks and start integrating ourselves in the world community. Number two, can we expect anything from the current political forces? The situation is rather discouraging. There's a lack of legitimacy and lack of faith with regard to both the group that is in government right now, the ruling group, and the oppositional parties. As we mentioned earlier in our conversations, we don't really have real political parties in Armenia per se. We have groups of people that are defined by the leader, by one person and his entourage. There is no ideology, no clear program, and no competition, real competition of ideas within that entity. There are no institutions per se. The political parties are groups defined by one person and the people around him, rather than by institutions. So that also makes it very difficult to generate new ideas or new programs. Right now, it seems that there are no new ideas, no proposals, no clear programs on how we're going to get out of this situation. How can we move forward? It seems that most of the political leaders, they have nothing to say. They don't have much to say. So where will these ideas come from? Some of my colleagues here believe that perhaps these ideas may come from some kind of citizen initiatives outside of the political establishment, if we can use that term. We are open to any initiatives that will enable us to create think tanks or any other institutions that may bring to creation of a expert community in Armenia, because there's a real lack of expertise, there's a real lack of qualified specialists in many fields. So, as I mentioned, it's unlikely to come from the current political establishment, in quote marks, the ruling forces or the opposition. So perhaps it's time for people outside of Armenia, in the diaspora and here in Armenia, to foster some kind of a citizens initiative and try to create perhaps an institution or a think tank where these kind of experts could be brought together to generate some clear ideas on how we can get out of this crisis and move forward. Because at present, it seems that people have nothing to say. There's a sense of hopelessness and apathy, and we really don't have any idea how to get out of this situation. That would be my proposal.